So hi everybody. When I said, Steve, you can go first, what I didn't realise is he's a really funny, amusing presenter. Yeah, brilliant set of slides, and he's got a great story to tell. We don't have that, any of it. So sorry about that. So I'm from West Northamptonshire Council. I've been there almost 2 years in the summer. I am responsible for commissioning children's services. That includes children's social care. Why do I commission that? Because it's an external service for the Children's Trust. It will become an important and sore point as I go on. Education. We had no real education commissioning function for a number of years in Northamptonshire. And so it was a mess. So everything we do, we're going to send off administration this week. I actually have to leave by 3 o'clock to go and dial into a meeting with inspectors. So imagine how fun that is. But I also commissioned public health. I didn't apply for that job. It's just that we didn't have the money to commission it. So they just said, do that as well, please. But it's actually worked out really brilliantly in this context because, as I said by another King's colleagues, Public Health Commission's in 2019 and a whole bunch of things which are very relevant. And actually, I remember from our peer review, our colleagues from Salford saying, well, actually, we get a lot of money from public health for youth work, so I'm leaning on our Director of Public Health an awful lot. So the history of Northampton County Council is, it came out of, our council, it came out of Northampton County Council. It had ended youth services a long time ago. It's one of those 1/3 that just didn't have a youth service. I'm sorry, Steve's let me down. Again, I pitched whether you said, how could that be? No, your fault. Out of that council came Northampton Council, which was in the north of the county, and West Northampton Council, which is sadly in the south of the county. Why they called it West, it still hasn't worked out. It's really bizarre. As you're driving the M1, you'll pass those and you'll be able to see north and south. The Children's Service had been rated inadequate in an inspection in 2019, and it really was bad. It was unsafe and it was just appalling. In the same period, the County Council had significant budget control issues, including public health being quite famous for spending public health money on public health functions. So they got told to give that back, and it caused all sorts of problems and national concerns. And the council issued a Section 4 notice, which I'm sure you know means we're telling you, government, we can't deliver our statutory responsibilities. Oh dear. So the government stepped in and tried to think about improvement and basically decided we're going to disaggregate this and create 2 unitary authorities. So I'm from one of them. While that was being done, the Children's Trust was created. It was actually created 4 months ahead of the 2 councils being created in 2021, 4 or 5 months. And it was actually given in its set of documentation, which is very similar to the Birmingham Children's Trust ones, because they were written by the same people, responsibility for everything to do with early help. Now, if you can think about how pressed social care, children's social care is, they didn't have money to do anything around other than targeted early help, and very, very targeted early help. So the context that we set up as a council was we had no youth services, we had no real early help aspirations or functions or partnerships. The Children's Trust was doing its best, and to be fair, one of the benefits of being a Children's Trust outside of the council is you get given a reasonable amount of money and you get to protect it. And in fact, the £170 million that our Children's Trust spends, because it covers both North and West councils, actually they are overspending last year by 30 million and this year by 30 odd million, slightly over 30 million. And we can't do anything about that because we don't have control over them. So it's quite a nice position to be in. But being arm's length with that money, they are super effective. Their improvement journey is really impressive. They're good people, they're well managed, and they do some amazing stuff for children in need. But the problem is, if young people are only being served by health and social care services, it's when things are broken. We need that early help sort of intervention. And we just didn't have anything. So we've got a really brilliant executive director, Stuart Lackenby, who said to me one day, I think we need to have a youth offer. We need to do something about fixing this. Go and do it, please. Let me know when you're finished. So looked around, and the first thing we did was trip over me. There is no plans for this, by the way. In terms of complexity theory, we just kind of know where we want to be, and we're taking every opportunity to get there. We just happened to trip over me. I can't remember why it was, but he kindly popped into Sears, and he said, I think it was probably January, February time.
I read yesterday, or a letter to him in an authority that really upset his place.
I was going to mention that.
And Range Councils came back and said, okay, thank you very much. And some protect their services and some just didn't come out of chance.
Yeah. It's fair call. I mean, you'll note there's a rather surety, I think, but absolutely right in terms of, held the mirror up, we're not doing anything. So Lee came in and said, well, we're actually piloting these peer reviews. And we said, when? He said, well, can you do it in 2 weeks' time? Bit of a thing going in. So we said, yeah, please, because actually we had no starting point for our journey. The challenge for us was that getting buy-in from our local authority. It was still fairly new, a couple of years old, not even. Councillors had come from the county council in many cases, not all, all the portfolios had changed. Just the political support was just a bit confused. And actually having the peer review supported by the MIA and the local government association made a big difference. So I was a bit surprised to find out last week the LGA is not supporting it anymore. I don't want to start a war or anything like that, but I don't know why there would be a perception in the LGA that that sort of support isn't helpful, because politically it really is. Because I carry the peer review around and I wave it at people fairly regularly, say, and look, it's supported by, there's a thing here that makes a lot of sense. Government's involved, LGA's involved, it makes sense. So, yeah. So we had a report in March of last year. Brilliant support from the MIA, and part of that support, it's been mentioned before, is the ability to network and get hints and prompts and go, okay, we're here, I'm going to speak to that person. Even being here, the networking opportunities have been absolutely amazing. And also to be able to participate in things like the Roots to Community Success Programme, which I'll mention a bit in a little bit. As a result of our peer review, the leader of our council, who's a really good guy, actually said a couple of months later in a cabinet meeting, actually this is our top priority. Now, they haven't necessarily delivered on that, but that's my fault, not their fault. I've got to bring some kind of things for them to do. So the peer review didn't say anything that you would be surprised by. It talked about a needs analysis we didn't have. That's in play now, we're nearly there. Having a strong vision, so I think we had vision, but no real clarity about how to get there. Getting help, those kind of things. So what we decided to do was to create a youth offer board, and I chair that for the council. But our main thrust of that is trying to capture what was in the county area, the council area, which was the voluntary sector. It was an awfully active voluntary sector. We also have a really good university, Northamptonshire University, with a youth work programme, and there's an overlap because some of the people involved with that program are also running youth services in the voluntary sector. So they basically have been nibbling around, almost banging on the door of the councils, saying, can we not do something? Because we've got some really good stuff here. It's patchy, this is what the peer review said, it's in different places, it's not strong, it's not necessarily hitting the areas the protests need, those kind of things. So we have a significant VCS role on the Youth Offer Board. We've also brought in all statutory bodies, including the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner, who we managed to get some money out of last year, so that was good, through the sort of policing crime programmes, community safety, youth offending services, prison, probation, health, police, all of those agencies are fairly active in terms of supporting what we're doing, and the university. What we did in the initial post-peer review period was we took the recommendations and said, what do we do? Can't do them all at once. What's the right priority order? So we decided that we were going to focus on getting a VCS-led youth work collaborative. That was signed off on by our integrated care system, so we kind of took it up through there, so we've got chief exec and other people supporting from different authorities. That led then to the Youth Offer Board being able to bring in health, the ICB, and our Community Health Foundation, who do an awful lot of youth engagement work, so they could see how that helped them. We basically said we will find some money. And I did find money from public health and from our community safety partnership to put into both the council side of things, so we have a strategic lead on this. That post is in recruitment at the moment. If anybody's interested, much nicer and closer than Rochdale. We're kind of standing back a little bit because the aspiration was, wouldn't it be nice if we could have a voluntary sector-led collaborative which is formally constituted, it's VCS member-led, and we can put money, resource, support from different statutory bodies into that. Not necessarily closing the door on organisations that don't want to engage with it, but actually then using that as the infrastructure organisation that can focus on things like safeguarding support, which was mentioned earlier on, helping with bidding, those kind of things. Well, who knows if we get into the world of the speed grid success, payroll support and things like that. And this is something I did in the London Borough, not around youth work, but about DCS support before COVID. And our voluntary sector colleagues said, yeah, that sounds really great, let's go and do that. So they decided that before they recruited their development officer, they would actually find an infrastructure organisation. So they had an open competition. At that point, the Young People's Foundation Trust, I'm sure you all know them, and many of you engaged, began to support. In fact, they'd already been talking to the VCS. So what I thought were great ideas I was developing, and again, you're catching up with us, we're way ahead of you on all of this. So we were just kind of opening the doors and offering some funding to grease the wheels a little bit. The Young People's Foundation Trust has been working with them and has created that collaborative with them as Young Northants. I mentioned earlier on we were two councils, Unitrist and the County Council. This is West Northants doing all of this, but most of our organisations, including the voluntary sector, cover both councils. So we're trying to develop it as Young Northants, not Young West Northants, so we can have that equity going across the piece, although I'm not giving them any money. So I just want to be clear about that, because it's here from North Northants. And the idea was that we would then be able to very quickly feed things into that partnership, even if it's not formally constituted, because we've recruited, there has been a recruitment process by the voluntary sector of an infrastructure organisation. We can begin to give the money. And we were asked by the NYA if we'd be interested in being part of the Route to Community Success Programme, the idea of taking lottery money to work as one of 3 local authorities alongside a digital offer to pilot and develop training for youth ambassadors. We of course said yes, and then instantly, this would have been sort of September, October time, instantly went to the embryonic Young Northants, but it wasn't called that then, and said, we think this should come through you. Would you be willing to do this? And they thought about it a little bit, and then they said, yeah, okay, we can do that. And they actually, if you like, subcontracted that support to the university-linked voluntary sector organisation, which does a lot of related stuff anyway. And we are progressing alongside the other partners in recruiting those youth ambassadors. Very sneakily, as the voluntary sector tends to do, I really admire it, we were told we could have 15. So when they told us they were recruiting 20, I had to come back to the NYA and say, is that okay? Of course, you guys understand how this works, and we're very, very supportive. Again, getting back to youth offering the vision is that we use that to mirror some of the stuff that we've seen from other local authorities presented today, to get that youth voice properly entrenched with the lottery funding will come to an end. There will be some training products and other things available through the NYA, but what we're really keen to do is to think about youth parliament, young youth mayors, having properly constituted approaches, which might even include things like young people scrutiny committees, which bizarrely our members are signed off on without any debates. We haven't progressed it, but they're really keen on us doing it, so they can call in any council business and say, we don't think you're doing that right, which I think is really good. So the funding we put into public health and the community safety stuff, we think for next year we've got more stuff from the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner and UK Prosperity Funding, so I'm guessing there's an option there as well. Of the £1.5 million we've got access to in the council, £500,000 is a chunk that I can have a go at. I won't get to the wall, but I can have a go at that. And thanks to our South Gloucester partners earlier on, and the fact that our Northampton Town Council person put his hand up earlier on, very foolish. I'll be chasing down town and parish funding as well, So that would be great, I think. So we're going to put that all as a package, but again, to go through young North House. When we created the board, the priority we set up as the biggest priority was youth engagement, of course, getting the voice of young people. So that's why we leapt very much onto the Roots to Community Success as a programme, because it starts that journey. And the fact that just being part of that allows us to wave around the peer review, but also to wave around the fact these people are coming here, they're going to start challenging, and you need to know how you're going to redesign your services. And we take that into the wider partnerships. And the fact that I commission public health services, so we're recommissioning non-quarantine services for April next year, not this year, next year, means that we can begin to pull all of this together in some kind of a coherent early help approach, which is informed by young people. Which I don't think is bad over 12 months, is it, really? So our next sort of steps are to look at embedding the youth voice approach, making sure that the lead by the voluntary sector continues, that we any bumps and humps they have, that we overcome so the collaborative approach actually works. To get proper long-term funding, mentioned earlier on, so because even though I think I'm going to talk about it today particularly, yesterday I challenged with our Director of Legal why we're in our 4-year contracts on things, and managed to agree that we get 10-year contracts on some things, including this, if I can get the money. So I think that's exciting. And then obviously one of the big things that we've got is the challenges around workforce and skills gap, the JNC qualified people. An example of that is our Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner wanted to recruit 15 or 16 qualified youth workers from April of last year. They recruited 7, none of whom were qualified because I can't find any. So competition on the sorry. So what I want to do is to bend that money back into what we're doing and get some kind of integrated approach, which isn't just about the journey of young people, making sure they get the right response in an early help way when they need it, but also about developing that career map that was talked about earlier on as well. So early help strategy, we've just begun that journey, and this is a big part of that. So I guess I just wanted to say thank you to the MIA and the NGA as was for coming to us and giving us the opportunity, because it's made a big difference.